That's a very honorable thing that you did, admitting to a crime that you probably, like you said, would not have been caught for. Did you?
No, the prosecuting attorney came to was going to my parole board hearings after about 7 years in, and he was saying exactly the same thing. So,
and you ended up doing 39 years. Did the judge or any of the courts show you any, I guess the word leniency is what I'm looking for coming forward?
Well, the reality was that, I came up in front of the parole board, I think, at 13 years of incarceration. And the DA, who I was just mentioning, the prosecuting attorney in this case, and this is the guy who said that I should never get out of prison from some of the articles that, some of the news reports that I read that he spoke at. But by the time I'd gotten in front of the parole board that, about 4 or 5 times, I cleaned up my life very significantly. And so when I went in front of him, even though I saw the world around me, and a lot of what's going on, what happens with lifers inside of the California prison system was there's a lot of politics involved. And but I didn't think I was going to get anything. But when it came for the DA to, this attorney to speak, and make his case, his words were that I had done the best performance I ever seen, and I deserved to get, and he deserved to get out of prison. And, so that was, quite shocking. And I figured, well, I'm getting out. And I thought that, I had done all the right things. I had walked the walk and talked the talk. And, as they say, I've been a model prisoner and all those things. And, so, I figured I was just on my path to a life outside of prison after about 14 years of incarceration. And a couple months later, I get called back in, and they said that release date that you got is no longer there. And I knew I would spend a long time in prison as a result of that. So, he wanted me out, and he was coming into those hearings for a long time, telling the parole board that I should get out. But the politics of that time and era, really it wasn't just me alone. I was not, singled out and said, okay, you don't deserve this, but we're going to let everybody else go. It was about, there was this no parole policy for lifers in a very complete way, and whether that's a good or a bad thing, and was it so-called fair or not? It's not the point. It's just the reality of where I was at.
Yeah. Now, tell us how you felt the day you were sentenced. What were your thoughts when you realized you would be spending 39 years behind bars? Or, initially you thought 14, but tell us about when that judge hit that gavel.
Well, it was heavy, and it was like, you're the best way I could put it is I was in a state of shock. That's just, and anybody put in that position ought to be. If they don't care, they're definitely just lacking in any comprehension of what it meant. And and I was in shock, and I was dumbfounded by the whole thing. But I realized that this is where it was at, and I was going to do my best to make it different. And I started to knuckle under and started to do the things that I knew I needed to do to get myself, out of prison to the best of my ability. And, I had my issues. I had my substance abuse problems and my alcoholism and everything else that I was dealing with. And I spent a long time doing a lot of therapy and treatment and stuff like that. So, the feelings, were just that. And, and the same thing that happened when I went and, and was told that the parole board I was not going to get out when after about 13 years. It was just this total feeling of my life is just devastated, and it was. But if I had choices to make at those points in time, and if I could either bury myself further, the phrase that comes to mind with a lot of people that I did a lot of time with is that I don't usually cuss much, but they say fuck it. I don't care. And that mindset and that mentality, I saw it destroy a lot of people that I knew. Some of them very good friends.
Wow.
So,
Where were you initially locked up?
my first couple, I first went to, they sent me to Chino to be processed, and then I was transferred up to California Medical Facility up in Vacaville, California, and and then they were considerate of the fact that I had they gave me some breaks in some ways, and then one of the things is the fact that I had turned myself in and everything. They sent me to a place where I could get quote help if I wanted it, and I chose to do it, and so they gave me a place that was not on the tough and rough type side of prison incarceration, and I learned to start slowly to live my life, in an incarcerated environment, and the thing that the restraints that it put on my life kind of gave me some barriers between my own craziness and the world around me. And as I learned and as I did therapy and as I did self-help and I did all these other things and I worked these 12 steps that I knew and everything like that, I found myself living a life that was, respectful and considerate. It had integrity to it, and I was somebody that could be trusted again and everything like that. And, So I found that I was living a comfortable life in spite of the fact that it was in a very difficult place.
This is the part that I want the kids out there to pay especially close attention to. But can you tell us about some of the worst things about your experience in prison?
Well, isolation from everybody I loved. The simple fact is that I lost out on so many times and places where I could have been with my family. My brother was murdered while I was incarcerated. I watched my mom drink herself to death. All of my family, many of them are now dead, and I watched them all pass away from behind bars. I live in an environment that was very bitter, very hate-filled. A lot of and it was like there was this mindset that people had to have a reason to hate somebody else, and it was like there was this constant lack of respect for another human being, lack of respect for anybody's rights or anything like that, and there was nothing about that situation there that was something that I would have my own volition now definitely would never be willing to go back to. And whether a person was spending 6 months in prison or 30 years, it sucks. It sucks bad. And there's not a lot about it that I would say is of any nature that is good for us. But the reality is that according to the world around us, if you break the law, you need to they need to deal with you. And I don't think it's a good idea to do anything that puts you in prison.